Hey fellas, how you doing? It's Johnny. Listen, this is unusual for me. In this video I'm gonna talk about loneliness, and I want to talk about why loneliness is a loving teacher in disguise. Now, this is very unusual for me. What inspired me to make this video? I'm not a fan of Facebook. I'm not sure if you guys know or not. To be quite honest, I can't stand it. I can't stand Facebook. Most times I go on Facebook, it makes me feel depressed. It doesn't make me feel depressed for the whole day, but I get this uncomfortable feeling. I get a feeling of, I just get a feeling of I get that similar feeling. You know that feeling if you go onto pornography, if you watch pornography, and you just feel something's not right. It's not as extreme as that, but it's similar. But of course, I'd seen a lady, I won't mention her name, it doesn't feel right to say her name, but I seen a lady doing a video and talking about loneliness. I just thought it was such a beautiful, it was such an honest talk. It really hit a nerve, and she said something and it hit a truth that I found myself. I can't place the day I found this, but I came to this truth of loneliness. Now, the reason I've said loneliness is a loving teacher in disguise, because it is. That's been my truth, that's been my experience. Now, get this right, get the words out right. Loneliness is one of those things where a lot of people in society, we're not comfortable talking about it. It's one of those things that's frowned upon, or it's seen as being weak. So if you say that you feel lonely, I know for myself in the past, in my own thinking, my own egoic mind or sense of self, I thought, well, I can't say that around people because they're going to lose respect for me. I'm going to lose value. Because to say that you feel lonely is almost in a sense to admit that you're not at ease with yourself, you're not happy with yourself. And there's a lot of risks there. There's a lot of social judgment. There's you're open for attack. You're open. So most people, if you meet people from day to day and someone was to say to you, how are you feeling, or how are you? Let's just say you were feeling lonely, you were going through a depression or some anxiety, or you weren't happy. If you were to say, I'm actually really lonely, I'm having a really difficult time, can you imagine the reaction you'd get? You'd probably get a good reaction. It's surprising how compassionate people could be, but some people could find it, I don't know, they could find it a bit too much. Depends on the context of how you said it. Anyway, I like that the girl spoke about this, because I think for any teacher to talk about this, it takes a lot of courage. Because being a teacher, or being someone that is looked up to, sometimes you can get caught up in that role. I know I've certainly felt that myself. If you go down as a teacher or a guru, you're expected, or people place this hierarchy, this illusory hierarchy, that you're always happy, and that's not always the case. So I'm going to talk to you what I learned about loneliness, and I went right into it. I went really deep. So what I'm going to do is, this video isn't planned, so stay with me, more like a webinar. Years ago, when I was growing up in my teens, I was always terrified of being lonely. I remember young as 10, 11, playing with my toys, being okay, being occupied, like I am now, feel really good and present and playful, and all of a sudden it goes bang. You know, when it just comes over you, you think, oh, it dawns on you, you go, I'm lonely, God, I feel lonely. And at that moment, as a young boy, it's like I had to run in and speak to my mum. Mum, I'm bored, I'm bored today, I feel lonely. Then my mum would reassure me. So what you're really saying is, I'm lonely, I need love. I can't get it from myself, I need to get it from somewhere else. And that similar childhood feeling is exactly the same as what we experience as adults. Only as adults, we've got too much ego, depending on who we are and where we're at, and we're afraid to admit it. We're embarrassed. So what most people do is, and I relate to this myself, I don't do this anymore, but I've done it in the past. We rationalize our loneliness and we look for distractions to stop the loneliness. And that's sometimes, and this happens for men and women, especially men, that's sometimes when we fall out of alignment. We fall out with who we are. So we may do dishonest things. So I'm going to go to an extreme here to stress a point because it's come to me. We might get so lonely that we feel so unloved we can't cope with it. We go and pay for sex. If you're a man, that is. We go and go to a prostitute, and then when we've done it, that we get that high, that feeling of love, and then we feel dirty after. We feel awful, and we feel worse than we did at the start. But there's a sense of relief there. And this loneliness is coming from, obviously it's a fear. If you're experiencing it a lot, it could be coming from, it's most likely coming from a childhood trauma. It's a part of you that you're ashamed of, that you've abandoned. So when you feel lonely, you might want to go out and drink, or you might want to get around people. Now there's nothing wrong with getting around people. There's nothing wrong with sex. But if these places are not coming from a true place, you don't have to, you're never ever going to feel satisfied. Because what's the opposite of loneliness? I don't think there's a name, is there? You just feel, you feel good, you feel secure. So loneliness is a state of consciousness, it's a state of being. Sometimes we can feel lonely for half an hour, we can get lonely thoughts. But if we feel lonely for the whole day, dangerous territory. I'm an expert in loneliness because being a current person who suffered from social phobia, trauma, low self-esteem, addictive personalities, multiple personalities, loneliness becomes a place that you become very familiar with. So as I said, in an attempt to escape loneliness, most of us, unless we've got self-control, we go into our addictions. And that addictive behaviour is damaging. It may be good, temporary, it may soothe us, but in the long run we pay for it. It's almost like everything we put out we get back. On the flip side, when loneliness is amazing, and this takes massive amounts of courage, whether you're a man or a woman, and forget for people who say love, spirituality is soft, nothing's soft about this. These are the questions that terrify us to answer. These are the questions when we ask questions like, does God exist? Can I be loved? Can I ever find a person that will love me? Can I love other people? Am I good enough? These are the questions. That's why I said to you, loneliness is a loving teacher in disguise. If you've got the courage, you've got the, I don't think integrity is the right word. You've got the discipline to be vulnerable, to face terror, your own terror, nothing to do with mine, nothing to do with hers or society's or politics. This is about you. This is about you saying, I am lonely, I'm frightened. I'm frightened no one's going to love me. I'm frightened I won't make money. I'm frightened these feelings are not going to go away. These are the questions I had the courage to ask. But when I didn't have the courage to ask these questions, listen to what happened to me. Please listen carefully, because I know this is going to speak to the hearts of many men, especially the men, especially the violent men who are damaged, who are angry, who bully other men, who go out, who cheat on different women. This will speak to you, because I was that man before. I'm no longer, thank God, and thank my own sense of self-worth and courage, and the courage to be honest and to learn from the teacher who was on it, who is loneliness. So when I didn't have the courage to ask these questions, I learned how to go out and to have sex with lots of women. And of course, as I was doing it, there was a part of me going, and this is an egoic personality, you're the man. I was getting proof that I wasn't lonely, because if you're having sex with 4 different women and you've got 30 phone numbers in your phone book and everyone says they love you, how could you be lonely? How could you be lonely? But there's a part of you, let me not say the part of you, there's the true self, who's terrified, who is lonely, who is scared, who is in need of love, who is afraid to love, afraid to receive love, who's abandoned himself, because the true self is so frightened of feeling loneliness, it develops a separate personality that goes out, gets you to spend your money on drugs, alcohol, makes you sleep with different women, not from a place of honesty, attracts dishonest women because you're coming from a dishonest personality. So it's not women's fault, it's not anyone's fault, it's your fault. And you do this because you don't understand what loneliness is, because you don't know who you are. But to some extent, you do know who you are. But you're afraid to be that person, because that person is vulnerable. That person isn't confident. That person does not have confidence at this moment in time. That person is frightened. That person's not a man. It's not an alpha male, not at this point in time, or it's not an alpha female if you're a woman watching. That person's been hurt. That person is very jealous. That person's full of jealousy, self-pity, victimization, anger, distrust, absolute confusion, completely confused. You guys can hear I've been in this place, I've learnt well. So why would you want to go to that place? The separate personality is going, no, we don't need to go to that place. It's not true, you're not this person. And then you start asking the question, who am I? Who am I? And there's a part of you that's too afraid to keep asking it, because to find out who you are, you have to face yourself. And facing the self, when you're denying the self, equals this feeling of abandonment. Loneliness is a feeling of abandonment. So this is when we go into what's been commonly said as acquiring. There becomes a sense of, I have to make more money, because if I don't make more money, I'll be lonely. I have to get more validation from people, because if I don't get the validation from people, I'll be lonely. I have to go out, I have to do things in order to avoid loneliness. And it makes complete sense, because most of us in our society are being taught this every single day. We're being taught this on Facebook, we're being taught this on YouTube, some YouTube, not all. I'm not teaching this now, I'm teaching you about proper self-love. We're being taught this. Unconsciously, we've learnt these behaviours when we were young. So part of us is actually harming ourselves, self-sabotaging. So there's a part of us that thinks, I don't want to harm other people, because the true self never wants to harm anyone else, because to harm other people, you would harm yourself. It's obvious, we know that. You don't have to read the Kama Sutra or all these spiritual books, even though I love these spiritual books. You don't have to even watch my videos. Waste of time listening to me now. I'm speaking a truth it's not my truth, but it's a truth that I've fallen upon. And I fell upon that truth today when the lady was doing a webinar on Facebook. I thought it was brutally honest, and it was just reminding me of a truth that I found. And I remember sitting there one day, I'm going to share this with you. I don't care if all of you judge me. And I remember thinking, I've got all this stuff, but if people really knew how I felt deep down, they'd have a different opinion about me, and that really frightened me. But that was an ego speaking. That was an ego speaking to my true self. Because at the time, this was approximately 4 years ago. It feels like a lifetime away, but it's not that long ago if you time it in months and weeks. 4 years ago, when I was a certified pickup artist, if you want to call it that. That makes me feel really embarrassed to say that, God. But I was that. And I was experiencing loneliness, but I didn't know I was experiencing it because I wouldn't allow myself to stay in that place. So distractions, out every day on the street, hours and hours meeting women. And I did enjoy it to some extent, but I paid the currency. And guess what the currency was? When that feeling came down and the curtain closes and you go back home and you log out of your Facebook and you sit at home and you're by yourself, you feel awful. And do you know what's even more funny? When I had 4 women around me, obviously not 4 women in the same room, some guys have done that, I haven't, but when I was dating different women, I still felt those feelings of loneliness and abandonment. You can feel lonely being around 100 people. I mean, I've got 3,000 people on my Facebook list, most of them I don't know. You could be in a room full of 3,000 people and feel lonely. So loneliness is abandonment of the self. Loneliness, even if that's just a temporary state, if you're experiencing loneliness all the time and you're depressed, and I want to say this without sounding harsh because it can sound like I'm attacking you, and I'm not attacking you, I'm helping you. I was going to say I'm loving you now, of course I'm loving you. If you keep experiencing loneliness, it's because you're denying who your true self is. And I know this is getting said so much now, the true self, the one self, the Superman self, your best self. It's almost it's an insult to use words to describe this. I'm talking about self-love, or personal truth, or God, or higher consciousness. Let's just say the true you. the you that's the real you, the you that's not the you that sees me and behaves a little bit different to impress me. Who you are. That person's actually enough. When I got that realization, I was so excited. I was terrified at the same time, because I thought, fucking hell, it can't be that easy. You mean to say I am enough? I don't need the books in my house, I don't need the money, I don't need approval from people, I don't need my mum and dad to love me more, even though they do anyway. I don't need any of it. I just need to give it to me. There's a part of me that felt a bit gooey. Alan Watts says that word, I like that word. I felt a bit gooey, I felt a bit unmanly in that moment. But I went further into that truth, because to go into a truth, sometimes we have to go deeper and deeper. So you might hit a truth, you might say, I totally resonate with what Johnny Berba's saying. It's all about self-love. When you're honest, life's better. But that's just, you might just come to it, and that's true. But then you go a bit further and you say, fucking hell, I really understand what he means. It really is about love. It really is about being honest. This is what life's about. And then a few years later, I might be go, God, it really is about being honest and being loving. You go further and further into it. So that's why I said my best, all my best ideas, business ideas, teaching ideas to help and inspire others, personal healing, just fun, educating myself, came in that place of loneliness. Then I was able, and I don't know why I'm saying my dad, his name's just come up, so I'll say it, this is a good thing, because I've been forgiving my dad. I'm still in the process, it's getting even much better. I remember my dad saying when I was younger, it was purely defined words. He said to me, I think I was kept going out, he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to see my friends. And he said, hey, it's great, son, you know, it's great that you're going out and seeing friends, but sometimes in life you have to get used to your own company, because what are you going to do when people are not around? And I didn't want to hear that. I was a young kid. You're 13, 14, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. But it was the most truest thing he said. And I've later come to realize that truth, and I know what he meant. It was deeper than that, because we say words and they're just words. But beyond those words, we have to feel into the feeling through personal experience. Fuck books. Forget spiritual books. Forget meditation. You have to sit in the feelings of loneliness to find massive courage. And then of course, it's really interesting that then you attract all the things you wanted. Money starts coming your way, attention, people, whatever it is that you want, that actually your egoic projection wants, then you don't even need it. Then you appreciate it. Then you can give others what you couldn't give them before. And that's your time. That's your presence. Not fucking around, not wearing a mask, not pretending, because people on some level sense it. You're your true self. It's the best energy you could ever give a human being. It's the highest amount of value. But you have to know who you are to give that type of energy. And it's actually easy. And Alan Watts has said it, and Johnny Berba said it, you don't need a guru. You don't need me, you don't need anyone, but you need yourself. But sometimes we need the placebo of a guru to guide us in the right direction. And then we go back to being normal again. Then it's okay to go on a date and enjoy a woman. Or if you're a woman, to enjoy a man. Because I know that my female followers are growing as well, which is fantastic. And then you start healing, then you don't feel jealous. There's no reason to feel jealous. Jealousy comes from a lack of personal inquiry. And again, jealousy is a projection of the false ego, which is not who we are. It's a shadow self, or a part of us that is damaged, that feels, I don't know, threatened. So we all, and I'm going to teach my kids this in the right way, and we need to teach each other this, we have to appreciate our own company. Otherwise we'll never appreciate anyone else. There's no point. We'll have a room full of 500 people all kissing our ass, telling us what we want to hear, but we won't feel it. So we have to heal ourselves and connect with ourselves, and then we connect with other people. And we've got to go through some dark nights of the soul. Now, I'm not going to fucking sugarcoat it. I'm not going to do a video and just say all the right things to get likes and subscribers. I couldn't care less about that. I care about putting out the truth. I had to go through absolute terror to become my authentic self, and then to have all those nice feelings, and to develop the skill and the self-awareness, if I ever fall into these places, not to panic, to embrace it, and use it as a time to go inside and study. And I don't even know why I'm saying this, but it's coming to me. I used to be thinking about people that are in prison, because I've been in prison myself. I haven't been in an actual prison where you're in a cell and, well, actually that's not true. I have been in a prison cell when I was younger, but just for a night. But I've been prison. You can be in prison in your mind. I remember a friend, an Irish friend, said some profound words to me. I'm going to say it now. He said to me, a prison can be in your mind, because he was in and out of prison all the time. And when he said it, I went cold and I just paused. It was a moment when, and this is when I didn't even know who I was, but I connected with me and I went, God, he's right. Prison can be a state of mind. And there's another saying I've heard, with the mind, we can make a heaven out of, or hell, just with our mind. But I believe it's a place that we have to breathe into our heart, we have to feel into it. It takes a lot of courage. It takes the ultimate alpha male. For anyone who's watching who doubts they're going to be an alpha male. Lots of these truths, these spiritual truths, or these psychological truths, or these experiential truths, they take a lot of courage. It takes a lot of emotion. And to feel good emotions, we usually have to go through a process of feeling very bad ones. Same with awakenings. And then we feel good and we don't have to go into all these deep concepts. We don't have to keep saying, I love everyone. We don't have to keep saying I'm spiritual. We are that, we live that. But it's okay if you say it. So loneliness has been my best teacher. Same as my dad. When he was hard on me, I didn't like it, I didn't appreciate it, it damaged me at the time, it hurt me, it made me terrified, but it helped me. It's a bit like the Batman story where it's not nice the way Batman was created, but it's a beautiful story. It's a story about fear to love. He goes out saving people, he channels that dark hate energy into love. And that's why, especially for myself, on the topic of loneliness, and especially for other men, that's why as a kid growing up I really identified with Batman, because he was a lone warrior, he was lonely. It was written all over him. He's in black, he's got a mask on, he's hiding, and then he takes his mask off when the day's finished and he's Bruce Wayne. But he's a Superman, he's a god. And we identify with that in all of us. So it's very human to feel lonely once in a while. We should celebrate it more. But of course, I guess depending on what reality you're creating, I'm creating a very nice reality. I never used to be in a good one. There is a certain reality or perception in our society that is, loneliness is forbidden, you've got to be positive all the time, and that's unhealthy. We've got to get the balance right. We've got to get the balance right. It's all about congruency, balance. And this is what I always talk to people about when I teach them a 6 weeks program. I say, if we're too extreme in one area, it's not good. If you love everyone every minute, even when people are horrible to you, that wouldn't be good. You've got to have personal boundaries. If you hate all the time, that's awful. So it is about love, it is about self-love, it is about being your best self. I don't know what I'm saying now. So, oh man, I got so much love, so much confidence. Let me change the language a little bit. So much self-confidence, to the point where you're so confident, you're humbled. It would be arrogant to try and abuse it or to try and show it. You don't show what you truly are. You are it. You live it, you breathe it. It's in your eyes, it's in your body language. And if you're not it, you work on it. Everyone's got it. There's no one who's special. There's no one who doesn't have it. It's not he's got it, but you have to work for it. It's a catch-22. I'm quoting Alan Watts because he helped me a lot, especially times when I was loneliness a few years ago. So to stop loneliness, you have to get rid of all your distractions, you have to refrain from your addictions, sit in the feelings, cry, shout, pray to God, scream, blame, feel jealousy, feel anger. Eventually that will all pass out and you will feel this, I can't explain it and I shouldn't have to, you should experience it yourself. You'll feel this immense feeling of safeness, you'll feel safe. I've gone a bit deep here, but it's felt necessary. Because it can be an awful feeling, but it can be very exciting. Last 2 years, I've gone through a lot of loneliness, but it's been a good loneliness. It hasn't been like the old loneliness, which was insecurity, where I had to always be around people. I had to get laid with women. I had to associate my own, value based on the money I made. It's all rubbish. It's all an illusion. There's no true love there. When I came into this, I started to attract those things, and I didn't even want them. I didn't need people to tell me you're really good, or I appreciate you, even though I didn't need it. And it's not an arrogant thing. God gave it to me. I don't know who God is, something deeper gave it to me. And this principle was so powerful, it enabled me to project forgiveness into people that have affected me, because loneliness can sometimes come from, what am I saying? It comes from stories in the past that we ain't able to look at and deal with. Lots of people I speak to will often tell me, there's a bully that bullied me years ago, and that story's depressing me and harming me. And I said, I know how you feel, because I was bullied at one time, and I was a bully. I've been on both sides. So to sit in this place, you'll have to visit all these demons. But if you visit them, fill into them, eventually they're exorcised out and they won't come back. Usually they won't come back if you do this properly. And I'm actually doing the practice right now, but I don't feel lonely today. I actually feel really good, really balanced. I know I don't smile much and I've got a serious face, but believe me, I'm smiling on the inside, and that's oh God, I'm very grateful for that. So I'm just here, I'm present. So have a think about that, and I'm sure I've hit a nerve with some of you. And if you didn't understand it and you just thought, he's talking bonkers, Berba's lost it, that's good as well, that's all right. What is he talking about? He's gone mad. I have gone mad, I'm awakened. But at some point you'll get it. And I'll leave you with this last message, and I'm gonna go and get some Chinese, and I've got to do a Skype session with a guy. Sometimes we're not ready to hear a truth at a certain stage in our life. And sometimes we have to mock it, we have to attack it, we have to say it's rubbish. A year later we go, God, I was wrong, it's right. So there is no mistakes on your journey. Even if you're dishonest and you're cheating, you're lying, you're sleeping with prostitutes, you're sleeping with different women, it's gonna work out. I can't judge you, I've done it, I can't judge you. But I don't do that no more, because I learnt my lesson from it. And the biggest lesson is, to harm others is to harm themselves. And there's no real love in it. Eventually you'll come to that crossroad, as Blake said, all roads lead, I don't know, all roads lead to the same, you know, eventually every road leads to the right road. You'll come onto the right path. Ugh. Enjoy the process, I love you all. Loneliness is the loving teacher in disguise. See you soon.